Good morning. This is Dr. Imran Pathan, Assistant Professor of English, Dr. Rafiq Zakaria, Center for Higher Learning and Advanced Research, Aurangabad, Maharashtra. So, in our last lecture, we discussed communication in general. We discussed the kinds of communication and the importance of communication. Let me revise the topic. Yesterday, we saw that communication is the process of sending and receiving information. So there is a sender, there is the message which is being sent, the medium which is used to send the message, and receiver. So these are some important elements of communication. We also discussed the two broad categories of communication, that is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication includes the communication in which words are used, whether it is oral communication or written communication. So that comes under the category of verbal communication. And the other kind of communication is non-verbal communication, which includes your facial expression, gestures, postures. I gave you an example of a signal. That is also a kind of non-verbal communication. Okay, so that comes under the category of non-verbal communication, where gestures and maps or diagrams are used to communicate. Okay, signal is an example of communication. You use facial expressions, eye contacts, winks and blinks. They are also used in non-verbal communication. See the example of the deaf people, those who can't speak. They also communicate, but through gestures, okay, and through facial expressions. Eye contacts are there. So that comes under the category of non-verbal communication. We also discussed the importance of communication. Communication, which is nowadays is used mostly in corporate world. Okay, it is also used in any kind of organization or institutions, whether it is a private institution or public institution. Communication plays a vital role for smooth and healthy working place. Okay, when we work in an institution, so we work with people, colleagues, peers, superiors, inferiors. Okay, so in that hierarchical system, we have to we always have to communicate with the people. Now, when we communicate, we need to always think before we speak or write. And I want you to note it down. Think before you speak and think before you write. That's very important. Most of the time, people have quarrels and arguments because they don't think before they speak and before they write. So think before you speak and think before you write. That's very important in communication in general. So communication is not only necessary in working places, but it is essential at home as well for a healthy and prosperous relationship among the family members. Good families make good societies. Thus, communication plays a very important role for making a good society as well. Because if you have good communication skills, you speak well and write well, you communicate in a better way, so you will witness that society will have good relationship among the people, which is why it's very important to have good communication skills, and we all need to work on this always. We need to work on this skill continuously. I gave you an example yesterday as well, that when we talk about communication, it's not only about an institution. Say, for instance, most of you, those who are pursuing MA, most of you want to be a teacher. Say, for instance, you are a teacher and you are dealing with students of any age and of any level. You need to have good communication skill to build good rapport with the kids, with the students. You need to understand them, which is very important factor in good communication, to understand people. Okay, you cannot always talk in a professional way with your students or with your colleagues, with your peers, especially when you are a leader. Teacher also plays a kind of a role of a leader. When you are a leader, you are working in a team, and the people who understand them, you need to talk them. Sometimes you need teams that study. That is to build rapport. Similarly, you can do it in your class if you are going to be a teacher, to understand students. And see, successful teachers are those who understand students, who understand their level, go to their level and teach in their way. Most of the time, and nowadays it's very common in government schools generally, teachers don't try to understand the level, age, and the problems of the students. I still remember when I was teaching in a school, there came a lady from this campus only, and she has brought a beautiful presentation with a picture. She brought it on PPT. There was a picture where uh, a child is requesting to the teacher, and the quotation is, "Please, teacher, if I can't understand the way you are teaching, can you please teach me the way I can understand?" This is very important, to understand the child. So here also communication plays a very important role, to understand children, students, when you are a teacher. Communication, as I say, it's very important in every aspects of our life, every aspect, being human being, because we are human being, we live among people, we always need people to speak, share our ideas, okay, and work together somewhere, whether you are an employee or an employer, whether you are a leader or you are working under a leader. In every situation, you need communication. And if the communication is not good, the whole system, the whole institution, the whole organization gets the effect of that. Okay? If there is grudge, there are grudges between a leader and the employee, or the people who work under him or her. So if there are grudges between them, you see the effects of it on the whole system. And therefore, it is very important to manage it, to understand people. Okay. So therefore, we always need to understand. I gave you some examples that Communication is important to give interview, to get the job, okay? And when you get the job, to improve yourself, okay? If you want to advance your career, communication plays a very important role. So, therefore, you need to work continuously on communication. There are some uh, qualities of a good communicator. Okay, he knows his subject matter well, his strengths and weaknesses. He knows appropriate words to use. That's very important. And therefore, I said you think before you speak and write. Small things. So, a good communicator knows appropriate words to use. I gave you one example. If I just say, bring the assignment today, this is a very simple statement. Bring the assignments today. And if I just add a single word before it, kindly, please bring the assignment today, changes the tone. Even your tone when you are talking with someone face to face, your tone matters. Your tone should be polite for smooth functioning of in a team. You how the of a team. If someone, if the one member of team is not working together with the leader, you see there is a movie Chak De India where one character doesn't obey properly. What happens? The effects of it. That is one of the best examples of working in a team. Okay, so a good communicator knows appropriate words to use, and he knows most effective questions to ask. That also we discussed yesterday. Now, a good communicator has a clear voice, self esteem, energy, passion, and enthusiasm, good body language, good listening skills. Very important thing. We don't listen most of the time. We want to speak, speak, and speak. And we always think that communication means just to speak. No. Best communication begins with listening. Best communication is when you understand people when they are speaking and writing. Understanding what they want to say is the best kind of, one of the best qualities of communication skills. Good listeners, understand people. If you are not a good listener, you cannot understand people. So make a habit it. Set a goal. Yesterday I gave you an assignment. Okay, that's voluntary. To make a habit to listen to the kids at home, understand them. That's very important, because when kids say something, most of the time we become irritated, annoyed. Make a habit to listen to them, understand them. Very important thing. And see the family where kids, when kids speak and their parents and the elders listen them, understand them, see their nourishment. Okay, how such kids grow. Understand when kids are understood. When we understand them, what they say, we listen to them, we reply politely. See the behavior of such kids. You will see that. So make a habit. At least when I talk about listening, you need to focus on this and make a habit of listening people. Every single person, even fools, even fools. I still remember there is a hadith. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, once he was stopped by a mad woman. A mad woman. She was literally mad woman. And she stopped Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And she spoke, and other companions of Prophet, they went away. They stopped somewhere distant place from that. And Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam listened to that mad lady until that lady finished what she wanted to say. He gave that lady complete time. Listen to him. It's one, great people always do this. I gave you an example of Mahatma Gandhi. Whenever we talk about a communicator, good communicator, Mahatma Gandhi is a very important figure. I gave you example of Martin Luther King Jr. So be a good listener. Very important skill. And when I connect this with the topic which we have, communication skills in English particularly, because we are talking about communication in general. So when we learn a language, as I taught you in English language teaching, this paper, every language begins with ears. Listen to it. Listen it carefully. You will understand. When you listen and listen with meaning focused aspect, when you listen something time and again, it becomes a part of your brain, and you revise. Whenever time comes, you recall it and you speak. So be a good listener. That is the quality of a good communicator. Okay, now a good communicator knows how to use words that the listener can relate to. Okay, keep an open mind. Make the listener feel comfortable. That is very important. Listener should feel that you are listening. If somebody is speaking to you, you should completely face to that person. If someone is speaking to you and you are looking somewhere else, that's not the quality of a good communicator. Listener should feel that you are listening to him, paying attention to him. You think that the person who is speaking, you have value for them. Okay, so you consider response. Okay, you should respond when someone is speaking. Make connections and build rapport. Very important thing. Rapport should be built. I gave you some benefits of communication yesterday, and today, okay, some benefits. I think we stopped here. Benefits of communication. Number one thing, when you are a good communicator, or good communication reduces stress. If you don't have quality of good communication, it increases your stress. So good communication reduces stress, it increases your productivity, and it is better in decision making. This is one thing. Further, it reduces the conflict, because most of the time there are arguments and quarrels and conflicts because of lack of good communication. So it reduces conflict, it increases sales if you are working in a company. So increases productivity, we can say. If you are a teacher, okay, so it increases the productivity of the students, and Good communication is better for problem solving. Good communication reduces rumors as well. You don't believe in and trust on rumors. Okay, someone gossips about a person, you don't pay attention to it. You don't pay attention to the rumors as well. So it reduces rumors, it increases the profit. Okay, and it is better for healthy relationship. Okay, it further reduces mistakes, it increases motivation. Okay, it reduces misunderstanding, very important thing. Most of the time misunderstanding, and I will add one point here: prejudices. You don't have prejudices about people. Last year you had very important novel, Jane Austen's novel Pride and Prejudice. See the story, the title. So these are the benefits of communication, effective communication. You know, you become a good person, and the place you work becomes a happy place. You enjoy working. You see, when in private sectors you will witness such things. People enjoy working in a team. You see how passionately and enthusiastically people in private sectors and corporate world work. Okay, it's not. And why don't you see such things in public sectors and in government offices? Because they don't pay heed to it. In corporate world, they invite people to talk about communication. For healthy working place, communication plays vital role. Okay, now there are 5 stages in the communication cycle, and you may jot it down. There are 5 stages. Number one, and these are very important in general: the sender, one who is sending the information. If I am something, for instance, in this case, I am being a teacher, teaching you communication, so I am the sender of information. I want to send you, convey you something, so I am the sender. So I am the originator of the message. Okay, now it, the way I communicate or anyone communicates the message, the message can be affected by your attitude, how you communicate, your attitude towards the person you will be communicating with. How do you consider that person? How do you treat that person, the person you are speaking to or speaking with? Okay, so your attitude. Okay, then the immediate surroundings, the culture. It also matters, the emotions of the person you are speaking to, job status. You are speaking with your boss, and you are speaking with a person who works under you, under your leadership. They both cannot be same. So it depends on the person you are speaking to, the person's culture, emotions. Okay, then education also plays a very important role. Okay, someone who doesn't understand, heavy words, the level of the person you are speaking to is also important to understand, to communicate properly. And another important thing here is the language skills. If you are speaking with a person who is from a village, okay, and he doesn't know, uh, you know, the sophisticated language, and you are trying to communicate that person in that way using sophisticated language that cannot convey the message you want to convey. So it's very important. So language skills is very important thing here. Okay. Now, in the first stage, what kind of problems can occur? Most of the time, you don't think before you speak or write. So always think before you speak or write. Think everything about the person you are speaking with or writing to. So think before you speak and think before you write. Now, very important thing, in that case, problem may occur when you are communicating. You don't have clear idea what you want to say, what you want to convey. So it's very important to have clear idea what you want to say. Unless you have clear idea of what you want to say, you cannot communicate properly. You cannot convey the message properly. Therefore, it's very important to plan it, think it, even understand what you want to say. You must have this clear idea of conveying the message. Okay. And sometimes problem may occur because you don't understand the issue. You don't understand the problem. You don't understand the subject matter you are going to talk about. This may occur. So being a sender, you need to remember these things. Okay. Second stage is the message. The text, for example, I'm using words. Okay. So I'm conveying the message orally. So the message is very important. The message, it can be oral or written. Now, in this case, you must consider various factors. What must it include? You should have clear idea. How will it be interpreted? When you want to convey a message, you should always think that how the person you are speaking with, talking to or writing to, how will that person interpret your message? Will he or she interpret it properly or misinterpret it? So you need to understand it. And with that idea, you have to frame your message. Okay. Now, how will it affect your relationship if you are writing something, you know, which can be harmful for your relationship? So you always need to think about it. Whenever you are conveying a message, you need to think in that way. How will it affect your relationship? Because in communication, when you are working in a team, relationship is very important factor. Okay. So problems in this second stage can occur that you choose language that the reader will not understand. So don't choose that language that the reader or the listener cannot understand. Use words or the language which the reader or the listener can understand easily. So the problem in this stage can be that you don't use the words or you use the language that the listener or the reader cannot understand. Don't do that. There will be a problem. Okay. In this, another problem is your tone is inappropriate. Use the proper tone, especially when you are speaking face to face. You must have proper tone. Then another point is your point is unclear. The idea, the message you want to convey is not clear. That is the problem, and you need to overcome to it. Okay. And sometimes your message is not well structured. When your message is not well structured, okay, it is the failure of the communication. So structure your message proper. That is very important. Sequencing is also important. Okay? Third stage is the medium. The medium is, for instance, sometimes you speak orally, sometimes you write a letter, sometimes you make a phone call, sometimes you write an email. These are the mediums. Okay. Now it depends. The medium depends on the urgency of the message. If you want to speak with your father or your brother or any member of your family, you cannot write a letter out now. If the member is at home, you go there and speak with that person. Okay. If you want to speak with your boss, so you select the medium. It depends. Sometimes we write emails. Sometimes we write letters. Sometimes we speak face to face. So it depends on the urgency of the message. Okay. Now, what kind of problems may occur here when you are at this stage, the medium? Okay. You choose the wrong method. Sometimes you choose the wrong method, a wrong medium, you can say. Sometimes the medium is interrupted, transmission is interrupted, distorted. You send the message at the wrong time or to the wrong place. That may be the problem. You must remember that. So all these aspects must be kept in mind while conveying your message. Now, fourth stage is the recipient. Now, the recipient will be affected by the same factors. Okay, so recipient is the person you are speaking to or writing to. That is the recipient. So the recipient will be affected by the same factors as the sender: attitude, surrounding, culture, emotions, etc. Now the message may be distorted if the sender has not taken care to craft the message appropriately. If the sender fails to craft the message properly, so receiver will distort the message, misinterpret the message. So the problems of the sender will be the same problems of the receiver. So sender should be very conscious of it. Okay. Now, what kind of problems may occur in this stage? The recipient's vocabulary or frame of reference doesn't correspond to the one you used in your message. If the recipient doesn't understand the vocabulary you are using, so there is lack of correspondence between the two, and message is not conveyed properly. Then the recipient focuses on how you say something rather than on the message itself. You know, sometimes we see and we appreciate, oh wow, what a language that person has used, what a vocabulary, what a rich vocabulary that person has. But we don't focus on the message. What is the message? We always appreciate Shakespeare for his language, but what message Shakespeare conveys through his writing? That's very important. Okay, so this is very important. And if the message is too long, that means there should be brevity. Short message should be there. If the message is too long, the recipient may be too busy to focus on, okay, and may miss your point. So message should not be too long. It should be short. It should be short. Okay. It is called as brevity. And you know, there is a way to make your message short. You can practice it. When you listen to the kids at home, you don't answer in detail to the kids. You answer in very short. Make a practice to speak with the kids in short. Brevity is very important. I mean, when I say brevity or a short message, I mean you should speak or write to the point. Okay. Unnecessary things should not be incorporated in your message. To the point. Okay. Importance should be given to the message. Okay. Sometimes people have habit of showing how rich their language is. In plain English and today's English, it is avoided. Basic purpose of language is to communicate your message. This is the fundamental purpose of language. Language is used to convey your message, not to show how rich your language is. It is avoided today. And therefore, there is a concept of plain English. There is a series of books published by Oxford University Press, in which there is a particular book entitled Plain English, which is commonly used so that everyone can understand it. You should not use a language which only one kind of people can understand and enjoy it. No. When you write, and therefore it is very important for the sender to have clear idea to whom he or she is speaking to or writing to. Okay. So the when you are writing, recipient should understand everything. And the last stage in this effective communication is feedback. When you are speaking to someone, when you are writing to someone, what kind of feedback do you get? Okay. Without feedback, you will not know if the communication process has been successful. For instance, it happens in oral communication as well. So if you are speaking with someone face to face, and if the listener, the receiver or recipient, showing, responding you through gestures, facial expressions, eye contacts, nodding, that means your communication is succeeding. Okay. And if you don't get proper feedback, that you fail to convey the message. Okay. Very important thing. There could be an immediate response in oral communication, such as nod or smile or meeting, smile in the meetings. But if you send a message to someone, text message, okay, or you write someone a letter, if you get back the message in a positive manner, in the way you intended the message, then you have succeeded in communication. Okay. Therefore it's very important to reply the message, whether it is oral or written. So what kind of problems may occur in this stage? Sometimes no feedback is received, and when it happens, you need to introspect whether you have communicated properly or not. Feedback is received too late sometimes. It should not, also not happen. And sometimes, speakers or the writers don't give sufficient time for the proper feedback. Inadequate time is given for feedback. That is also matter. Time should be given for feedback. So these are some of the stages. These are 5 stages of effective communication, in which you, being a sender, need to remember, and being a listener as recipient also need to remember. And some are the problems I have highlighted here, that you need to keep in your mind while communicating. Okay? Now there are some other factors also that we will discuss in the next lecture. These are very important things, and I think these are not only important for this, don't for the exam point of view. Okay, don't take it just for the exam point of view. Take it for developing your personality. Okay, being an employee, being an employer, being a leader, being a father, mother, daughter, sister, brother, part of the society, you need to keep practicing and developing in communication. That will help you to become a good person. I hope this is very clear to you. Tomorrow we will see the next session. If you have any question, we'll discuss it. Umra, do you have any question?
No questions.
Okay. Sandhya, any question? I think there is no question, so we'll stop here.